Well, good Wednesday morning. We're at 3 minutes past 10 o'clock right now. Already warming up to 79 degrees outside. Yowzers, it's going to be a toasty one today. Randy Roberson with you on a Wednesday here on KRIM's Community Spotlight. And today on Community Spotlight, we're going to be talking to your District 1 County Supervisor, Steve Christensen, with us in the studio. And Steve, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, Randy. Good morning to all listeners out there.
Another fun day in paradise.
Yes, it is.
You know, you've been busy. We were talking for a little bit here before going on the air. And there's a number of things that we want to let people know about today. But first, let's talk a little bit about, I know a reoccurring news story here has been Fossil Creek, and the fact that especially for first responders and things like that, with the changes, with the closure of the Fossil Creek Road going down from Strawberry, and you know some of the constraints that were placed on that, it's taken a lot longer for rescue crews to get in and extricate fall victims and things like that, or help people that for one reason or another have a problem down there. And I know it's been a big challenge, and there's been a lot more talk going on about this.
Yes, there is. And just to kind of review real quick, if people don't really understand what we're talking about, most probably do. However, just to the west of Strawberry is an amazing area called Fossil Creek, and it's where a lot of water just comes out of a spring in the bottom of a canyon. And APS went in there, 100 years ago or so, and APS set up a flume system to move the water down the hill and into electrical generators called Childs Irving Plant.
Right.
Okay, so about 20 years ago, they decided to decommission the area and pull all that infrastructure out. And so the roads deteriorated and things like that. But the access for people wanted to get in there for recreational purposes. It's a really beautiful area. But unfortunately, access to the lower levels now are really difficult to do. There's no motorized access. So if someone does get hurt, needs a rescue, or has a problem, they're either a 4 to 5 mile hike down in there by Tunnel Room Search and Rescue, the Sheriff's Department, Pine Strawberry Fire, those kind of people, and it can take 6-7 hours to rescue someone. This occurs in the middle of the night, it occurs in all weather, it's a very hazardous trail. Last 5 years or so, there's been over 700 rescues and 7 deaths, and we are ahead of schedule. We're this year already. We've had more than normally.
Right.
2 were very critical. So the idea here is that we want to improve the rescue capability for the area. We're not opening it up to public access. So part of that involves improving the road, creating helicopter landing areas, things like that. We're not going to be changing the ecosystem or damaging anything or bothering endangered species. We're just trying to get access for rescue people down in there. There's 3 separate roads we're working on. We're working with the Forest Service here on the Tonto, but on the other side of the creek there's a road called the Old Flume Road. That's actually in a different county and it's in a different forest. So we're going to be meeting with the forest ranger of the Coconino next week on the 10th to speak with her about some of the things that we want to do. So what my job has been since I took over 4 months ago is to try and facilitate meetings, put all the right people together in that meeting so that we can start working on these things and solving it. Some know who Gary Morris is. He's been very active in trying to get this accomplished. He's been years in the effort. And so we've had 2 meetings and we have come leaps and bounds forward on the process. And we just recently, just last Friday, after meeting with the Yavapai Apache Nation chairman, John Huey, have received a letter giving their blessing to the improvements that they need. Now, it also is going to be a double benefit in regards to the Indian Nation, and that is that this is a holy and very spiritual place for them. At one time their tribe lived in that canyon, and they now are in Camp Verde. So they have some tribal members that were born there, still alive today. And these are very old people, they call them their elders, and they want to have access down to Fossil Creek. And right now, there is no access for very elderly and people that just can't make the 4.5 mile hike down in there.
Right.
So it'll be a double benefit. They will have access along with emergency personnel, and we're going to be able to really do great things. Now, it's not over yet,
Right.
but the letter now is a big piece of the puzzle, really huge. I'm really happy that we've come that far.
Yeah, it's really a fascinating area. Back in the 30s, you know, there was a big health retreat facility down there, and that had a lot of stone buildings, and they ended up building the Verde Hot Springs, which those, you know, tubs, if you will, hot tubs, if you will, are still in existence, but all of the buildings were destroyed because I guess undesirables were hanging out down there. You can still come in from the Camp Verde Road to some of that, but it's I mean, that's a pretty arduous, slow trail as well. But you can still get down there. But it's, it's for emergency response. It has to be profoundly challenging and frustrating for Town Rim Search and Rescue and for the Gila County Sheriff's Office, and to be able to get down there in a timely manner when you know someone's in need. That's just got to be, I guess, frustrating is the proper word to use on the radio.
Yeah, frustrating, but it's also dangerous, and it's expensive. There's a lot of people getting paid, even though most of them are volunteers. It still brings in the sheriff's department, it brings in Pine Strawberry Fire Department. They don't have the funds for that. Also, they have a new quad or UTV, whatever you call this, 4-door Polaris, brand new, that was purchased through grant funding for just this purpose. So we have really a lot of stuff in place and ready to go as soon as we get the green light from several agencies, mainly the Forest Service.
And that just, when you think of like a fall victim or somebody that, is not able to walk, they always put them in what they call a litter, a big, basket, and they have to hand carry them out. A lot of times you'll see pictures of them with a single big wheel underneath the basket and trying to come up. I can't tell you the deleterious impact hiking up that last mile or so out of the canyon has had in my vocabulary in the past. But if you had to be, hauling a person up to save their life, good grief.
And some of those are hard for horses to navigate. So the trail is in a state of condition that needs fixing either way. So
good news.
It's a road system that is deteriorated, and the Forest Service has called it all now trails, which is a specific designation that limits kind of what we can do as part of it. So we're just kind of jumping through the hoops, but we're getting farther and farther along. So it's really moving along. I'm really happy.
That sounds very promising. Yeah. And now one of the other things that folks around Payson here have no doubt seen happening is the county has a brand new building that's being erected just across the street from the post office in Payson, and it looks like they've been going great guns and really making some progress.
Yeah, they are, and it's a very large building. I think it's over 11,000 square feet. Wow. It's right there on Frontier. Frontier eventually become a two-way street again, and so yes, it's going to be great. It's very significant for Payson to have a county building like that here, where we have not had that presence before. We've had representation,
but most all of the action was going on down in Globe.
But all of the jury trials are in Globe and all that. So we're going to be able to change that now and really have a very nice community area county facility for jury trials, etc.
So is that the majority of the space taken up with court system endeavors, or what else is going to be in the
most of the court stuff, like all the judges and their clerks and all that, are going to remain where they are, not in that building. But the very large section that you see that's like 3 stories tall right in the center, that's mostly the multi-purpose room, really, is what it is. It's not going to be strictly for court. It's going to be, they're going to have movable everything to where they can so turn it into whatever they want.
It could be a courtroom today and something else tomorrow.
Something else tomorrow.
I like that idea, multi-use, that makes sense. Now, what about, I'm just curious myself, because driving past there yesterday, I found myself gazing back in saying, what the heck is that all about? On the, this would be the east side, it looks like there's a little portico or something where you can maybe drive, under a covered area or something there, or am I just seeing things that aren't quite finished off yet?
Like, you're saying the southeast side. No, that's gonna be the entrance area.
Okay.
And so we're not be able to visualize that quite yet because they don't have, I think a lot of that's gonna be glass,
Ah,
but that's gonna be sort of the lobby.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense. And so, how many years is it going to take to finish it up?
Well, surprisingly, they're saying November or December this year.
That's aggressive.
This year. We'll have it by the end of the year. And so, so far, I think it looks like they might make it.
Now, will this result in people that are currently working in Globe starting to work in Payson instead, or anything like that?
No, I don't believe that is in the plan. I think what this does is it moves where my offices are over on 260, but planning and zoning is still going to be in that office, and then other groups will go in where I am right now, the Board of Supervisor area. And so then I will be moving into that building, and there's going to be offices, I think, there for Judge Wright. He'll be in there. And, you caught me off guard. I really don't know.
That's going to be interesting.
There's no one moving from Globe, though, as far as I know.
Well,
As far as like the county manager and all those guys, they're all going to stay there.
And it sounds like, a huge benefit because those of us that had to go and take part in some kind of court proceeding where we in the past would have had to gone to Globe, we can probably get that taken care of right here in Payson.
Yep. This building's been talked about for 30 years.
Is that all?
Yeah.
Good grief.
Probably more.
30 years, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, so November, the projected completion date on that. That's some good news.
Yeah, it's great.
Now, earlier we were talking about Fossil Creek and about the unique challenges that are presented in going down into Fossil Creek by Town of Rim Search and Rescue, the Sheriff's Office, etc. But one of the things that you've done with some discretionary funding that you have access to is you've done something that really is going to help Town of Rim Search and Rescue become even better at what they're at. They're already pretty darn good at it. But to me, as someone who's been involved in this kind of stuff in the past, I find this next topic exciting.
I would really put Tunnel Rim Search and Rescue in a category that's like they're the best in Arizona. They're probably the best in the Southwest.
When it comes to technical rescue, I mean, they really are
they're
amazing.
A fun group of men and women. Il Pitterly is their head guy right now, and he came to me with a proposal along with several other members, the Sheriff's Department as well, and said, look, we have something on our wish list that we really need, and we can't afford it. So what they wanted was a self-contained network radio system. And what it consists of is a proprietary 20 radios that people can wear. So you would have one radio per group. So let's say there's 3 or 4 that are going to go up on the mountain. They're going to go down into a canyon. They're going to get out of sight. They're going to lose cell reception. They're not going to have a satellite phone. No one's going to know exactly where they are. GPS, spot on, exactly, you are here. And so what this radio system does is it does that. So they'll send out a crew. Now, it may be in the middle of the night. There may be a snowstorm. They'll rescue in all kinds of conditions. So they'll lose sight of them, they'll lose communications with them. This radio system creates a network and that they can monitor on their computer and communicate with every member that's out there, tell them you're on the right track, or you need to go more north, or come back this way, or whatever. And if they get so far away that they actually do lose the communication with that, then they can send another radio up in a drone and get an altitude radio that then would reconnect everyone, and it's going to save lives, I think. It's going to save time. It's going to save rescues from being lost and frostbite victims because we couldn't get to them fast enough. And so I said, absolutely. So I bought them that system. It was $26,000.
Well, money well spent.
Yes.
Again, having been involved in that kind of stuff, I think this is really exciting because one of the aspects to like mesh networking systems like this is that there are so many areas that with the older style radios that the Sheriff's Department has used, I mean, it's pretty much line of sight, and they work off of a few different towers and things like that. But you run into areas where it's a dead signal. You don't get any signal in there. Where with something like this, you can have a string of people with these radios all the way down into a canyon, and each one kind of acts as a repeater, so you can get communication down into places where normally you couldn't. And that right there is going to make a huge difference in their ability to save lives. I think that's a really well spent $20-some thousand.
Save lives, and even though most of them are volunteers, the sheriff's department is part of it most of the time. And so here you've got you're taking resources away from the sheriff's department on a rescue, and so then those guys do get paid hourly and sometimes overtime, and so it'll be a cost-saving measure.
So save money at the same time. I like that idea.
Yeah, it's win.
Pay for itself.
It's a win for everybody.
Gotta love it. And with some of these long, protracted search and rescue, I'm looking back at the kids that died on Tonneau Creek here a couple of years ago. I mean, that was days spent out there with people that are salaried with the sheriff's department, and so probably wouldn't take that long to make up that $20,000 by maybe not having to have as many of them out there, and maybe more volunteers, or any one of a number of possible.
It's a public safety thing to me, and $26,000 to save lives, save time, save injuries, and it's just not even a question about it. So.
Well, right along with all of this, another one of the big challenges that, of course, anyone that's been here for any length of time knows that we're just right now rolling into fire season, and that's always a kind of a spooky time every year, especially the last few years with things being really dry. And it hasn't been that long since we had the Police fire out there on Police Mesa, where that helicopter pilot sadly crashed and did not survive. And there's something special coming up that you're involved with to kind of commemorate that and honor him.
Yes, we are going to do that. His name was Brian Boatman. He went by BJ. The young man has a wife, Elizabeth, and one daughter who is 6 years old.
Oh, goodness.
So what we want to do is commemorate on July 7th, which was the day that he did pass away. He crashed. He's the only aircraft that I'm aware of that has crashed in our area fighting fires. Okay, so he's a firefighter. He's a hero. And so we want to commemorate that. So we're going to have a private memorial celebration for him and his family with some of the key members that were part of the firefighting team, and it's going to be by special invite. So it's not for the public, but we are going to do that, and it'll be at the casino on July 7th. And so what we're going to do is present some plaques and things like that, and then we're going to have a permanent display in our new building of a photograph of BJ Boatman just a couple of days before he crashed, when he was at the airport and going out, and the aircraft was flying and had the bucket, and you can see the smoke. It's an amazing photograph, and so we're going to commemorate him that way.
Beautiful, and how fitting. And they are such an integral part of what goes on here every year. I mean, just even yesterday we finally got the word that the Sombrero fire down off of Cherry Creek was able to be held to 2¼ acres, and primarily with air attack on that.
Right.
And they had several different, I think it was 5 different aircraft fighting that, but trying to nip it in the bud before it spread. And just a couple of days before that, we had another wildfire. It's scary this time of year, but so much of what happens right now, as far as that initial attempt to get containment on these fires, is done by aircraft, and they're truly the unsung heroes a lot of time, and there's an awful lot of risk involved in what they do. Typically, aircraft don't like to be flying close to the ground unless you're landing. There's just a lot of variables there. So
well, it's a dangerous business, and so we're going to commemorate that. Beautiful. And so we do have helicopters now up at the airport. I think there's an egg cat up there, which looks like it's basically like a crop duster plane.
Right.
And I think they used several of those just to stamp out the deer fire that was right down here by Deer Creek on
I
Sunday.
think they had a couple of seats and the single engineer tankers and a couple of helicopters with a Bambi bucket. I don't know if we've seen any of the heavy aircraft come in so far yet this year, but hopefully we won't. But it's always just a matter of time until we see it again.
Yeah, we do live, and please, firewise your property.
Yeah, and it's not that terribly difficult, but it makes a lot of sense, especially when you see how quickly some of this stuff can spread. That having the perspective from where we live down in Tonto Basin of just looking out and watching the bushfire was pretty darn scary. I mean, that was a monster that came up over the mountain and down into Tonto Basin, and just great to see all of the men and women out there working on the fire lines and everything, but it'd be greater to not see any fire.
Yes.
there's a profound understatement there somewhere.
Yeah.
Anyway, so if people want to find out more about what's going on with the county, maybe they've got concerns that they'd like their voice to be heard, what do you suggest for them?
Well, we do have a website.
There you go. And that's at?
GilaCounty.gov, I think.
I don't know. Pretty easy to figure out, right?
I think you could probably find that. Yeah. So we have lots of job openings too, so if people are interested in working, we have lots of job openings at the county right now.
Right.
And so look at that. And then I have a website, I should say a Facebook page. And I really appreciate my daughter. She's the one that handles that and helps me with it. So if you want to know maybe a little more about what I'm doing, who I'm helping, some of the 501 C3s that I'm helping and things like that, go to Facebook and find me at Supervisor Steve Christensen.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
And also, if you do want to look at the county website, it's GilaCountyAZ.gov, and they've got all kinds of information on there as well that you can tap into very easily. Just to kind of put some icing on this cake real quick here before we're out of time, when we were talking earlier about the radio system that was that you helped fund for the Tonto Rim Search and Rescue, we mentioned that you have some discretionary funds. All the county supervisors, all three, have some discretionary funds available to them. And you were just talking about helping out some of the different 501c3s. Is that where most of that money goes? Is for nonprofit work, from things like this where they weren't able to afford on their own?
Yes, it's for that purpose. And so that is a budgeted item that we each get. And I actually didn't know we had that fund available until I took this job. And so it is available. So my theory on it is going to be to help as many people as I possibly can.
Biggest bang for your buck.
And to get the biggest bang for my buck and help those. I just gave $5,000 to the Payson Christian Clinic yesterday.
Oh, man, that is such a worthy cause.
They're trying to expand I didn't know they had that entire building, but they're going to expand now and start oral health or dental health.
Right.
Okay. So, and they're all volunteers, and they're doing a great thing too. And so what their target, I asked them, who's your client? And so they said, well, people that are don't have insurance or underinsured, can't afford the high deductibles,
right,
can't afford the co-pays, whatever. And so they provide a great service to humanity. And so I'm pleased to give to them.
I can't agree with you more as far as a group here that very quietly is doing some amazing things. If you check out the numbers of people that they treat, people that maybe don't have insurance or they're underinsured, but they have various physical problems, medical problems. Payson Christian Clinic has not only been able to have doctors volunteer their time to help see patients and that type of thing, but also they've swung some deals with other labs for lab testing and stuff like that, where you can get some of those other residual services done very economically. And if you want to find out more about them, just look up PaysonChristianClinic.com on the internet. Pretty easy one to remember, PaysonChristianClinic.com.
And Randy, one thing I found out about them yesterday is that they're the only licensed rural Mercy Care clinic in the United States.
Holy moly.
Most are not licensed.
That's a less than technical term, by the way.
Yes, most
of them are not licensed?
Most are not licensed. This is a licensed, and they're rural, Mercy Care clinic. She referred to it as, and it's the only one in the United States, right here in Payson.
I've worked a lot with Dr. Judy Hunt and Dr. Alan Michaels overseas on different things, and I have profound respect for them. But just what they've the two of them and a lot of other people have done in getting the Payson Christian Clinic to the level of service that they're at is astounding. But I had no idea that it was the only one of its kind in the United States. That's profound.
Right, it is. And right here, we have a lot going on in
Yeah.
KRIM country. It's a wonderful place.
Got great nonprofit radio stations too, but we're not hitting you up for any money here live on the air. We'll do that later. Anyway, appreciate you being with us again this morning. Again, County Supervisor for District 1, Steve Christensen, with us the first Wednesday of every month.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming down today, and we appreciate you tuning in and listening to Community Spotlight on KRIM. Got some great music coming your way from David Gray, Matthew Sweet, Creedence Clearwater Revival, Leonard Skinner, and more. But first, a quick look at Rim Country weather. Just like